Hello, are you ready to learn for today? When you reach this part, that means you're done with case 1. So for now, we'll be having case 2, wherein we will discuss another type of equation that can be transformed into a quadratic form. So start na tayo agad sa example number 1. So ito yung case na magkakaroon tayo ng complicated algebraic expression inside a quadratic form. So ito naman, we're given with x squared minus 6x quantity squared minus 2 times x squared minus 6x minus 35 is equal to 0. So mukhang complicated nga, no? So, but this time, we'll just be having four different steps to solve this given equation. So, start na tayo. Represent the algebraic expression into a dummy variable. So, yan, tingnan natin. Yung ginawa natin, parehas lang din naman sa case number 1. But this time, instead of x squared yung papalitan natin ng dummy variable, yung algebraic expression, yung buo, yung gagawin nating dummy. So, once again, I'll use the first letter of my name, E. Says na Edward. So, E is equal to, papalitan ko ngayon, kung mapapansin nyo sa equation na to, parehas silang merong x squared minus 6x. So, yan ngayon yung gagawan ko ng dummy variable. So, I'll write x squared minus 6x. So, yan yung step 1 natin. Gagawa lang ulit tayo ng dummy variable. Then, for step 2, we have to create the quadratic form of the equation using the dummy variable. So, in this case, letter E yun. So, anong gagawin natin ulit? Papalitan natin lahat ng x squared minus 6x, ang ipapalit natin ay E. So, E. Ito, E. Then, huwag mong kakalimutan na naka-square pa siya. So, E squared minus 2 times this one. So, magiging 2 times E minus 35 is equal to 0. So, in that case, ayan na yung step 2 natin or yung tinatawag natin quadratic form ng itong given equation. So, we'll proceed to step number 3 wherein it says, parehas lang nung ginawa natin sa case number 1, we have to solve this quadratic form using any method of solving quadratic equation. So, napansin din natin dun sa example 1 and 2 na mas maigse yung solving natin kapag factoring. So, from this, I will use factoring. So, once again, to factor this one, iisip ka ngayon ng dalawang factors ni 35. Yan, or dalawang numbers na mayroong product na negative 35 and na sum na negative 2. So, yan. Kung di mo pa master yung factoring, pwede ka pa rin naman mag-quadratic formula. So, in that case, we'll be having negative 7 and positive 5 because negative 7 times positive 5 is negative 35 and negative 7 plus 5 is equal to negative 2. So, yan yung dalawang factors natin. Then, we will once again divide this into two equations, zero product property, di ba? Hatiin natin sila ulit. One equation will be having E minus 7 is equal to 0 and another one will be E plus 5 is equal to 0. Then we'll solve each equation to solve for the value of the variable E. Yan. So, ang gagawin natin is we add 7 for both sides. Dito naman, subtract 5 kasi para matanggal yung 5 dyan for both sides. Yan. So, from that, simplify natin. Ito magiging 0. Ito rin magiging 0. So, we'll end up on the equation. We'll be having solutions of E is equal to positive 7 and E is equal to negative 5. Yan. So, yan na yung dalawang values ng E natin. Di ba? Mas maigsi. And that's already step number 3. So, punta ulit tayo dito sa side na to proceed for step number 4. So, we have step number 4. So, finally, solve for the roots of the equation using the original variable. So, ganun ulit parang sa case 1, babalik tayo ulit dito kay E. Pero this time, x squared minus 6x na yung gagawin nating variable. So, sulat ulit natin yung dalawang values ni E na nakuha natin. E is equal to 7 and e is equal to -5. So in this case, we'll just need to replace this one. Alalahanin lang natin, e is always equal to x squared minus 6x on this equation or example. So palitan natin ngayon to si e. Gagawin natin x squared minus 6x, then equal to 7. Then now we'll be having yung e ulit, papalitan natin ng x squared minus 6x. So in this case, we'll be having x squared minus 6x is equal to -5. Yan. So meron ulit tayong dalawang equation and we also have to solve for the variable x to finish solving this given equation. So una, yan, kung titingnan nyo, ito yung nakita nating equation. So para magkakaroon tayo ng quadratic trinomial dito. So ang magandang gawin natin is gawin natin siyang standard form. So we'll do standard form by adding, or this one I'll subtract 7 for both sides. Yan. This naman I will add 5 for both sides para malipat yung mga constant sa left side ng equation natin. Yan. So plus 5 for both sides. Then we'll end up with the standard form. X squared minus 6x minus 7 is equal to 0. And then x squared minus 6x plus 5 is equal to 0. So meron tayong dalawang quadratic equation. So pwede kayong gumamit ng kahit anong method in solving these two quadratic equations. But for me, I will use factoring. So dito muna tayo sa left side. So hanap tayo ng factors nitong given x squared minus 6x minus 7. So may product na 7 and may product na -7 and may sum na -6. Yan. So our answer could be x minus 7 and x plus 1, di ba? 1 times -7 is -7. -7 plus +1 is -6. So, ang factors natin dito, hatiin natin to ulit. So, we have x minus 7 is equal to 0 and x plus 1 is equal to 0. So, we have to, ito naman, add 7 for both sides. To subtract 1 for both sides. Yan. So, from there, magiging 0 na to. So, we have x is equal to +7. Ito ay magiging 0 na din. So, x is equal to -1. And that is for the left side of the equation. Gagawin din natin to sa right side. So, magiging x squared minus 6x plus 5 is equal to 0. So, factoring ulit tayo. Yan. Ano yung factors na may product na 5 and may sum na -6? So, that will be x minus 5 and x minus 1. Diba? -5 times -1 is +5. -5 plus -1 is -6. So, hatiin ulit natin sila. 1 is having x minus 5 is equal to 0 and 1 is having x minus 1 is equal to 0. Then, to get the roots, so we have to add 5 for both sides here and then add 1 for both sides. So, we'll have the two remaining equations as to magiging 0 na. So, x is equal to +5. And this one, magiging 0 na din. So, x is equal to +1. So, as you can see, apat ulit yung nakuha natin. So, the solutions for this equation, so the solutions are, so we have, arrange natin, least to greatest. So, start tayo kay -1, then we have 1, then 5, then 7. So, ayan yung solutions natin for this given equation. Okay, let's discuss another example para mas maintindihan pa natin itong case number 2. So, we'll be having another given that's almost the same form on dun sa una nating example. So, we have x squared minus 1 quantity squared minus x squared minus 1 quantity minus 6 is equal to 0. So, follow rin natin yung apat na step na to so that we can solve this given equation using a quadratic form. So, once again, step number 1, represent the algebraic expression into a dummy variable. So, ganun ulit yung gagawin natin. So, step number 1, let's try to represent itong naulit na expression, itong x squared minus 1. So, tignan nyo, parehas lang ulit sila. So, we can let it as one variable. So, let e be equal to x squared minus 1. And that's our step number 1. Sundan lang natin yan. Palitan lang natin ng e para masundan natin yung step number 2. So, create the quadratic form of the equation using the dummy variable. So, in this step, ang gagawin natin is papalitan na ngayon natin ng e lahat ng may x squared minus 1. So this one is x squared minus 1. So, ang gagawin natin dyan ay e. Then, squared siya. So, lagay natin dito is squared. Minus. So, wala naman tayong coefficient na kasama dito. It's just x squared minus 1. So, papalitan lang natin siya ng e. Minus 6 is equal to 0. And that will be our given quadratic form. So, ayan na yung quadratic form natin. Tandaan na, dyan sa step 2, lalabas si quadratic form, hindi quadratic equation. Yan. So, next, step 3. Ito muna pala tayo. Step 3. It says, solve for the quadratic form using any method of solving quadratic equation. So, once again, from this quadratic form, I will use factoring para mas maigsi yung ating equation. So, ano kaya yung factors natin na merong product na -6 and then sum na yan, -1. So, lagyan ko ng 1 dyan para hindi nakakalito. So, we'll be having factors. Yan. Factors ni -6 na may sum na -1. So, we have e minus 3 and then e plus 2 is equal to 0. So, tingnan natin -3 times 2 is equal to -6. -3 plus 2 is equal to -1. So, tama yung factors natin. Then, we'll try to solve this one by dividing this into 2. So, we have e minus 3 is equal to 0. In this case, we have e plus 2 is equal to 0. Then, solving each of them, we can add 3 for both sides here para maging 0 to. And then, ito naman is subtract 2 for both sides here. So, from that, solve na natin yung value ni e. So, ito ay magiging 0. So, e is equal to positive 3. And this time, ito rin ay magiging 0. So, e is equal to -2. So, in that case, we can already proceed with step number 4 kasi na-solve na natin yung quadratic form. So, step number 4. So, once again, we will go back to the given equation or the given values of e. E is equal to positive 3 and e is equal to -2. So, please remember that e is equal to x squared minus 1. So, yan. Take note natin yan para alam natin kung ano ipapalit natin kay e. So, in this case, papalitan natin yung e ng x squared minus 1. So, we have x squared minus 1 is equal to 3. Yan, pinalitan ko lang to ng x squared minus 1. On another case, we'll be having e is equal to -2. So, magkakaroon tayo ng x squared minus 1 is equal to -2. Yan. Hatiin na natin yung equation. So, we have x squared minus 1 is equal to 3. Simplify natin. I think to simplify this one, we can add 1 for both sides. So, para I think magkakaroon tayo dito ng form na x squared is equal to c. So, yan. Then, we'll solve that equation by having ito magiging 0. So, we have x squared is equal to 3 plus 1 will be having 4. And I think from that, we can have the square root of both sides. So, di ba? Square root nito and square root nito. Then, square root of 4 will be 2. So, we'll consider positive and negative 2. So, yan yung isang set natin ng roots. Then, we'll do the same thing on the right side of the equation. So, one good way is to add 1 for both sides. So, plus 1 tayo dito parehas. Yan, para matanggal natin yung katabi ni x squared na minus 1. And then, this will become 0 already. So, x squared is equal to -2 plus 1 is negative 1. Then we'll do the same thing. X squared is equal to negative 1. We get the square root of both sides. Yan, square root of both sides natin. So we will be having an answer that is x is equal to positive negative square root of negative 1. But as you notice, we once again have a negative number inside a radical or a square root. So ang sagot natin dyan as always is not real, or there will be no real solution for this one. So since it's not real, we'll just consider this as your answer. So yan. So the solutions for this one will be, sulat natin, the solutions are, so our solutions will just be negative 2 and positive 2. Yan. So hindi natin ko consider na real solution C. Yan. So the solutions are negative 2 and positive 2. Dalawa lang this for this example. And that's case number 2. Since we're already done with the first 2 examples for this case, I think you're now ready to try one example. So yan, once again, transform the following equations into quadratic form and solve for the unknown variable. So ito yung given natin. So ito. So I'll give you 5 seconds to pause the video and try to solve this example before ko ipakita yung solution and answer. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I hope na-pause mo na yung video with this 5 seconds. Here are your answers. Yan. So ayan yung solution natin. Ito. So we have the solutions negative 1 and positive 1. Ito naman yung ating quadratic form. I hope you understand the lesson for today. Until next time, bye!